From stoic heroes to chaotic multiverse moms, the way we tell stories reflect how we live. And today we're cracking open the treasure chest of film narratives. We're talking about cinematic themes and tropes, how they've evolved from the golden age of Hollywood to the meta-modern madness we see today. Whether you're a screenwriter, a director, or just a fan of watching stories unfold, this one's for you. Let's rewind to the 1940s and 50s, the golden age of Hollywood. Filmmakers were working within a tight moral code, the infamous Hays Code. Officially known as the Motion Picture Production Code, this was a set of industry moral guidelines that governed the production of most US motion pictures released by major studios from 1934 to 1968. The Hays Code restricted depictions of sexuality, violence, profanity, and even challenged portrayals of law enforcement, religion, and crime. For instance, criminals could never be shown getting away with their crimes, and relationships had to reinforce traditional moral values. This forced screenwriters to get clever, embedding meaning in subtext, suggestion, and character archetypes. In dramas, the stoic male hero, the redeemable villain, and the tragic, pure-hearted woman were standard. Think Casablanca.
He's looking at you, kid.
Rick gives up love for a greater cause, embodying a kind of self-sacrificing nobility.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
In comedies, screwball hijinks ruled the day. Some Like It Hot uses cross-dressing and mistaken identity in a story that manages to be both playful and slightly subversive without violating the code.
I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
Science fiction, meanwhile, became allegorical. The Day the Earth Stood Still wasn't just about aliens, it was a stand-in for nuclear anxiety and Cold War paranoia. In these early decades, science fiction wasn't about lasers and space battles, it was about what scared us at home. By the late 1960s, the Hays Code was collapsing under the weight of cultural revolution. Audiences had changed, so storytelling had to also. Enter New Hollywood. Coppola, Scorsese, Altman, Kubrick. The MPAA rating system replaced the code in 1968, and suddenly anything was possible.
It is designed to inform parents about the suitability of movie content for viewing by their children.
Tropes became deconstructed. Heroes became anti-heroes. Films like Taxi Driver.
Talking to me?
And A Clockwork Orange blurred moral lines and challenged audiences to confront uncomfortable truths. The emotional tone shifted. Ambiguity was in. And the structure? Out the window. In referencing 2001: A Space Odyssey, one of my all-time favorites, Kubrick said, "Let the visuals speak."
What are you talking about, Hal?
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
The Graduate ends not with a triumphant kiss, but a vacant stare into an uncertain future. Comedy too evolved. Satirical films like Dr. Strangelove tackled existential threats with absurdity. Humor became a vehicle for critique, not just punchlines. Francis Ford Coppola said about this time of filmmaking, narrative became a mirror, not a window. Movies were a reflection of the times, and times they were a-changing. Jump to the 21st century, and we're in a multiverse of narrative possibility. Storytelling today is bold, fragmented, and often self-referential. Indie films and studio darlings alike are challenging form and content. Science fiction today tends to focus on emotional intimacy and ethical dilemmas. Her explores loneliness and AI relationships.
I can't believe I'm having this conversation with my computer.
Ex Machina questions consciousness and manipulation.
What would you like to know?
Whatever comes into your head.
The genre's speculative elements are used as metaphors for deeply personal themes. Dramas like Moonlight unfold in vignettes, is a character study across time, race, and masculinity. And a cross-platformed movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once juggles chaos, comedy, action, suspense, and existentialism, all with a bagel. With true comedies, they've gone meta. Palm Springs uses time loops to discuss depression and purpose. Barbie breaks the fourth wall to explore identity and gender. Daniels, director of Everything Everywhere All at Once, said about the themes and tropes of movies today, "We live in a post-genre world. Audiences crave connection, not just conclusion." However, one constant that echoes throughout each era is the hero's journey. Made popular by Joseph Campbell, it's a 12-step arc from the call to adventure to the return with the elixir. It's baked into everything from Star Wars to The Lion King. What's great about these tropes is that filmmakers can remix it. Modern narratives skip or collapse the stages, or use unreliable narrators, or question the journey itself. Fight Club, Arrival, Nope, they all subvert the pattern. Here's where it gets fun. Let's compare emotional trajectory graphs from classic and modern era films to see how films have evolved on an emotional level. In the first graph, you can see a clear 3-act structure, basic in nature and predictable. There is a steady emotional build with a defined climax and resolution. The emotional trajectory mimics a smooth rise, fall, rise pattern with a satisfying conclusion. Most films through the 80s continued with this arc. It's classic, go-to, easy to write, and audiences are comfortable with it. In the second graph, you see a stark difference. In many cases, you'll find fragmented or non-linear structure and storytelling, rapid tonal shifts from scene to scene, and in many arcs of the film, you find climaxes that feel unresolved or open-ended. This was a minority even 20 years ago, but it's much more easy to spot now. The emotional graph for these films resemble roller coasters, peaks, drops, and sometimes abrupt endings. Audiences today are more comfortable with ambiguity, irony, and even emotional whiplash. We don't need tidy endings. We want stories that reflect the chaos we live in today. In editing, it's faster now, like way faster. In the 1940s, the average shot length, ASL, was 10 to 12 seconds. Today, it's an average of about 3 seconds in action films. That pacing changes how we feel the story. Our brains absorb more, we have a more emotional, visceral feel, and we get pulled in more aggressively. What illustrates this best, and what I find fascinating, is the change in one particular genre from the golden era of film to today. I'm talking about the rise of the superhero film. In the 1940s and 50s, other than Superman, superheroes were almost entirely absent from cinema. I mean, comic books existed, but the film industry didn't take them seriously. For audiences and studios alike, serialized adventure reels and westerns filled that action genre. By the 60s, more variety were popping up, with Batman capitalizing on the popular television series and some DC characters popping up on the screen. But these were not great movies. Other titles for the superhero genre included Super Argo and The Faceless Giants, Samson vs. the Vampire Women, and Mr. Freedom. As you can tell, there weren't any pillars of film history at this time. And although the superhero genre had a blockbuster in the late 70s with Christopher Reeve's Superman, DC and Marvel films with Captain America, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Wonder Woman saw modest or no screen time, as some were just for TV or released outside America. Studios put little money or stock in them and were basically second-rate level films. The 80s and 90s saw some interesting titles like Howard the Duck, Toxic Avenger, and Flash Gordon. But what kept the genre relevant was basically the resurgence of Batman, with the best Joker-Batman combo ever with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, and the Superman film series, numbers 2, 3, and 4. For nearly 60 years, DC was the movie king of comics, basically all of cinema history to that point. That all changed in the late 2000s, as we entered the Marvel era. Audiences needed something to pull them out of the funk of 2008. They needed new heroes, and not perfect ones, flawed ones. And the technology made awe-inducing visual effects believable. Enter Iron Man, a billionaire with PTSD and a drinking problem. The hero's journey found a new costume, and the genre became a super tentpole for the industry, with audiences clamoring for more at a fever pitch. So what happened? Why the explosion in popularity? Superheroes offer mythic structure with modern anxiety. They allow audiences to process global threats, terrorism, climate change, pandemics through the lens of justice and sacrifice. This was needed at that time with the congruence of 9/11, the financial markets, and a contentious presidential race. They also embody that blend of classic structure with modern tone. A film like Avengers Endgame hits every emotional beat from classic cinema while juggling dozens of arcs. It's a triumph of both story and spectacle. The Marvel Cinematic Universe literally wrestled the film industry from the strong grasp of DC. who, since the beginning, were really the only game in town for the genre. The MCU has kept their superpowered grip for almost 20 years, while DC has really yet to recover. So whether you're into black and white melodrama or neon-lit multiverses, cinematic themes and tropes are our emotional compass. So what's your favorite trope or genre? Drop it in the comments below, and if you want more behind-the-scenes brains and storytelling breakdowns, like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time, keep filming, sleep later.